Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into a massive night of racing as we get into round number 3 here of season 17 for the V8 veterans. We've now ventured outside of Australia after two absolutely phenomenal opening rounds at Bathurst and Sandown, and we venture into the Autodromo Nazionale Monza here tonight in the heart of Italy for round number 3. We've got a massive international campaign coming up this season. The rest of our rounds for season 17 are going to be international affairs. We're in Europe this week. We'll be in Europe next week for Silverstone, and then it will be 3 weeks in a row in the US. And then we'll be kind of circling back around at a couple of really, really good tracks as well. We're just getting into qualifying here tonight, and then we can sort of go through the results of qualifying as well. A couple of cars out on track at the moment, so and then we're going to have a little bit of a warm up, and then we're going to be getting into the race here tonight. So, of course, this track is known as the Temple of Speed, and that is what is going to be key for these drivers here tonight. Staying within that slipstream, keeping their car at optimal pace, is what they're going to need to do here tonight if they want to have any chance of staying within the fight. If you get out of that slipstream, it is almost impossible for you uh, to to get back into it and to be able to get back into the fight. It's very, very hard in a supercar around here to be able to get the undercut done properly if it means that you're out of the tow when you come into it. Does it sound like I'm in a tunnel? Why does it sound like I'm in a tunnel? I don't know why all my stuff is not working properly.
Here we go. That should be better. Is that any better? I hope that's better. I actually can't check my audio because my headphones were not working for some reason. But regardless, we are now into here. So big hello to everyone who's already in the chat. Jason Strange letting us know he'll be half an hour late. Anita Buckland in here, TSM Esports. Anakin Daly, Stephen Murray as well. Brett Fisher, all great to have you in here. Thank you all for, thank you guys just for letting me know about the tunnel thing. I was really struggling for some reason trying to figure out all my audio stuff. Didn't really want to work out properly. I couldn't even hear the actual intro stuff playing on the YouTube video when I was loading in to the session here to starting up the stream tonight. So I was, all kind of freaking out. But opening 2 rounds, we've had some incredibly clean racing so far. Bathurst was carnage filled as always, even more carnage filled within only 2 hours of racing than what we saw today in the actual Bathurst 1000, ironically. Welcome Will Munro as well into the chat. Great to have you here. So, so Bathurst was a lot more carnage filled in the season 17 of Vets than what the real life Bathurst was today. And then last time out at Sandown, the drivers kind of calmed down. We had a couple of minor incidents, but nothing really major. No safety cars last time out either. But what will be the go here tonight at Monza? It is a track that can lead to safety cars very, very easily. And it is a track which can lead to some absolutely wild moments. We've already seen some absolutely wild moments in Split 3 and Split 1 on Friday night, also on Thursday night, respectively. So, Split 3 has actually been relatively the cleanest split so far this season. And it's definitely going to be one that is going to be very, very interesting to see sort of, how it goes here tonight and what's going to be the go sort of, here tonight. So coming into tonight's race as well, Darryl Hockey leads the championship after 2 wins in a row this season. Andrew Hoffman is just in behind him in P2. Then we got Stephen Greck P3 in the standings at the moment. Mario Reale at a P4 right now, and then Mark Poynton is P5 in the championship. So that's our top 5 for our championship at the moment. So it'll be very interesting to see how those drivers go. I know a couple of big outs tonight. Shane Randall was unable to race. He was up at real life Bathurst this weekend, so he was unable to race. Robert Crow wasn't out there either. And a couple more outs as well. But we still had a pretty reasonable number of drivers out there tonight. 35 cars out on track here tonight. Hopefully all of them do actually get racing. So then we can actually have a nice spread. Currently, no, the points are not up currently for what the points currently stand as. Split 2 is the cleanest at the moment. Split 2 is relatively the cleanest. So, but I do have the points. Peter Vandergren did actually give me the current standings after Monza. So we will actually be able to reveal how the standings are kind of sitting after this actual race is completed here for Split 2. Halil Cesar. Yeah, so Halil, yeah, the points are not up yet. I was going off of after round 2. So, but let's just quickly get into our... I meant to make that empty beforehand, completely forgot. So these are our current qualifying, our provisional qualifying results here tonight. This is what our grid will look like. So Rick Weiger manages to put his Angry Birds racing car on pole position after a very unlucky outing out at Sandown last week. Mark Houghton then will start at a P2 tonight for Accelerate Sim Racing, just ahead of Troy Sipple from Quantum Pecky's Performance Racing at a P3. A really nice return to form for Troy there. After some poor luck in the start of the season. James Bourman with yet another return to form, starting at a P4 here tonight for Velocity Racing Team, just alongside the current championship leader Darryl Hockey for Old Mate and Sons at a P5. Glenn Corbett will start tonight's race for Hypersonic Racing at a P6, just ahead of Lorne McKee for Accelerate Sim Racing, with Halil Cesar from TMC Cooler Master Racing starting at a P8 here tonight. Marty Hansen will start at a P9 for East West Racing GMK Logistics, just ahead of P10's Jason Strange from Old Mate and Sons. P11 tonight is Peter Verme for WKMP Sim Sports, starting just ahead of Paul Hayes from Nova Sim Sports at a P12. Stephen Greck, P3 in the championship at the moment, will start at a P13 here tonight, just ahead of Quantum Pecky's Performance Racing's Damon Fisher at a P14. Mario Reali will start out of P15 here tonight for Hypersonic Racing, just ahead of Old Mate and Sons Gary Buckland at a P16. Shadow Racing drivers Ed Cullen and Peter Latham will start alongside each other at a P17 and 18 here tonight. Oh, I did not mean to get rid of that then. I meant to go to the next page. With Mark Peck starting in behind them at a P19. P5 in the championship, Mark Poynton, Privateer, will start at a P20 here tonight, just ahead of Scott Weston from East West Racing, GMK Logistics at a P21. Daniel Sheriffs will start tonight's race in P22 with Brett Taylor lining up just behind him for Valve Motorsport at a P23. Alongside him will be Todd Martin from Quantum Pecky's Performance Racing. Mark Howard will start at a P25 tonight for Velocity Racing Team, just ahead of Mal Powell for Drop Again Motorsports at a P26. Dave Arney from Pacific Esports Racing will start in P27 here tonight, ahead of Simrigs Infinity Motorsports lone driver out there tonight, Will Munro, at a P28, being that there's no Shane Randall or Robert Crow. Sean Cullen will start at a P29 tonight, just ahead of Scotty Parents from Quantum Pecky's Performance Racing at a P30, with Craig Healy, Jim Caperonis, Simon Farrington making up the rest of the positions. Andrew Hoffman, Michael Power unable to set a time in qualifying, but I'm sure they will be able to get out on track as well. So that will wrap up our qualifying results for the moment. We'll just bring back up our race info once again. Since we have got a couple of minutes until the warm-up session goes live, I thought maybe we can just talk about Bathurst a little bit, and boy, was it boring. Today, I must admit, it was super, super boring. You guys let me know what you think in the chat. Hello to Mark Houghton as well. Matty Raw, Craig Healy, great to have you all here tonight. But yeah, it was quite boring. The second half of that race was very underwhelming, unfortunately. But I think, maybe there is some truth to what has been said about these new Gen 3 cars previously. So hopefully things can change for next year with some aero packages and stuff like that. Yeah, Anakin, exactly. I think, it was... it really was just... it just felt like... It's felt how a lot of the other races this year have felt, Sandown felt the exact same. You're literally watching something for 160-odd laps for it to then come down to the final lap of a battle between Erebus and Red Bull. Like, there was nothing really that spiced it up towards the end. And even then, today was a 20-second finishing gap. Like, that's probably one of the biggest... I think that's actually the biggest finishing gap in maybe the last 20 years at Bathurst. Like, we went 20 years or so without that big of a gap between cars. It may have even been longer or even shorter than that. And, like, it really just sucks the life out of you when you sit there for 6 hours and it comes down to that. It's It's really tough. And as I said at the top of the broadcast, yeah, and I wasn't alive for that one, and I probably would have been a bit bored watching Peter Brock win by 4 laps. So, I did feel though for Brock Feeney today though. That was a bit of a shame. Although I was crossing my fingers that Shane's shifter would actually break just to kind of spice it up a little bit since the other twos did. But yeah, it wasn't to be. So we're gonna get some cars on track now. For the moment here, just in our little warm up session, 5 minutes to warm up for these drivers to get the most out of their cars, start their practice starts, and do what they need to do. And we can just chat about Bathurst a little bit. Bruce Picard saying the strategy was unpredictable and the teams got it wrong. That's what made it boring to watch, not the cars. Yeah, I think that was also one thing as well. I think as well when the safety cars fell, that also had a thing to play with it because it fell right in time for pit stops or, and because we only had 3 and all 3 of them came within the first half of the race, it really just then didn't add anything for the second half of the race. Yeah, like it was pretty much how vets used to run when we had 1 stops. You run until it's empty, then you just go fill it. Like, the only real shake up was when I think they put like 35 litres in the 97 car because they didn't want it to fall down the order. That was the only time that I could really think about today where it was actually kind of spiced up a little bit in terms of where people were and how they sort of changed the strategy a little bit. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why the fuel actually took so long. It never used to take that long. When putting it in the car, so it was quite interesting. Like it really just felt like they were sitting there forever. Like I don't know. It was just. I think that I don't know. Supercars. I feel like supercars will be better when we're able to get maybe some more manufacturers out there. Maybe a little bit of change of rules, just because it feels so cookie cutter right now. They've slowed the refill rate down to 2.2 litres rather than the old 3 litres there. I guess that saves no regs restricted to ensure that the fuel stop is longer than the brake change safety. Okay. I suppose that's smart then, I guess, since they actually force the brake changes as well. And I guess it also limits the opportunity for cars to actually catch fire or pull out of the pits with the nozzle still on. I remember when Greg Murphy did it 20 years ago, and then he had to come sit in the pits for 5 minutes. Which, again, though, those moments did spice it up a little bit, although luckily no one was hurt in that scenario. But, yeah, I think these are, it's tough. And I think that, as I said, I think it'd be nice when we can get, I feel like supercars needs to kind of lean into more towards GTs. I don't want it to be a GT series, but lead into it in the fact that really embrace that it is touring cars and embrace having more manufacturers with different engine types. You might have a BMW team out there running a V6 turbo, or I don't know, say if we ever get Volvos back, maybe they run a 5-cylinder turbo or something like that, but really have it so it is all fair and there is parity, obviously, because it would really be able to spice it up a little bit. I think back, the best Bathurst ever was one that took place where there were 5 different manufacturers of car out there. They had Ford, Holden, Volvo, Nissan, and Mercedes in the field. And it was one of those races that was just completely off the wall. Back in 2014. Even 2013 was really good too. So, yeah, which, I mean, and it's hard to take the series international because all the teams are based here. I mean, I suppose, there are some big markets here I guess. The only other manufacturer that you could maybe argue that could actually do it, I don't know. I mean, maybe Anakin saying Australian Supercars is dying and they have no remedy to revive it. I mean, that's true. That was when we were using Global Group A rules. Yeah, it definitely does. It makes it super difficult. Super, super difficult. And I think it's... Yeah, I mean, apart from like a manufacturer that wants to kind of spread their wings in Australia, then I think it's definitely going to be hard to get any more interested in racing in it. You know, but I mean, maybe there's an opportunity at some point that we can actually get it. I at least hope so. You know, it's a fantastic series. It's great to have a series that is our own. I don't know if it ever goes away completely because of how much money is in it. And races like Bathurst bring in so much revenue to New South Wales and the town of Bathurst as well. So, you know, it's really one of those big things that, you know, you don't necessarily want to lose, I guess. But yeah, it's very difficult for sure. Like I don't think it's anywhere near as popular as what it was 10, 20 years ago or even earlier than that. Like I feel like people only care when they race at tracks like Sandown or Bathurst or even Gold Coast. Yeah, that's exactly right, Bruce. I think, and hence why I said I think it'd be good if supercars went down the route of more GT style cars. You know, where they... Oh, well, we did already run through that, Bruce. But currently we've got Rick Viger starting on pole, Mark Houghton P2, Troy Sipple, James Boardman, Darryl Hockey, Glenn Corbett, Lorne McKee, Halil Cesar, Marty Hansen, Jason Strange, Peter Vermey, Paul Hayes, Stephen Grech, Damon Fisher, Mario Rioli, Gary Buckland, Ed Cullen, Peter Latham, Mark Peck, Mark Poynton, Scott Weston, Daniel Sheriff, Brett Taylor, Todd Martin, Mark Howard, Mal Powell, Dave Arney, Will Munro, Sean Cullen, Scott Perrins, Craig Healy, Jim Caparona, Simon Farrington, Andrew Hoffman, and Michael Power. That is our starting grid. We did run through it at the start of the broadcast, or just before. Yeah, I think that's probably what's actually going to be more beneficial is if they ever do that, Stephen, for sure. I think it probably will eventually just turn into GT3 or a style of GT3 similar to like DTM. But we're going to get this race cracking. We're waiting for everyone to get onto the grid. There are a couple of drivers not on the grid just yet. Once they are on the grid, we will be ready to go racing here tonight. One thing to remember as well, turn 1 and 2 are going to be our big danger zones here on the first lap, as well as 4 and 5. Those little tight chicanes are going to be the tough sections of this track that these drivers are going to have to be careful of off that start line. Ascari's not going to be too bad, seeing as it is a little bit wider. Same with the Parabolica. I think we've got the majority of our cars on track. We're waiting for Paul Hayes, Simon Farrington to get on there. But we are ready to go racing, and here we go out at Monza here tonight. It was a cracking start from these drivers, looking nice and clean at the moment as they come all the way down here into turn 1 and 2. Who's going to make the jump in through the chicane? Looking nice and tidy at the moment as we make our way through. Pretty tidy here. Paul Hayes starting out of the pit lane. That's a big check-up, though, for Scotty Perrins off the start. We're going to head back up to the leader, Rick Viger, at the moment. And how do we run down through 4 and 5? Really, really tight braking zone here. You cannot really ever go for a move through these corners. It is very, very tough to do. And there's a car spun round. That is Lorne McKee off the exit of turn 5. How are these drivers going to go getting through the field here? Oh, backs out of the way nicely there. Makes room for these drivers, but he is now going to drop all the way back down to the back of the field here as we come up towards Ascari down this long bending straightaway. These leaders have had a great start. They make their way through Ascari. Boardman's already dropped a spot off the start to Darryl Hockey, so the leader of the championship already on the move up the order here. Mark Peck, what can he do through this order? What about Todd Martin just behind Mal Powell at the moment? Mark Howard already up a spot. Jim Caparonis is already up 7 spots in this race as we make our way around the Parabolica. And we end lap number 1 of 35. 200 kilometres tonight is the distance we will be going around the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Yeah, Bruce, I agree with you. At least at the first chicane, you can actually go too wide through, no matter how tight it is. Sipple is beginning to drop spots here to Darryl Hockey at turn number 1-2. And there's at least, like, it's not too bad. 1-2 is not actually that bad. It's just really, really tight, where turn 4-5 at the second chicane it's way too tight to really go too wide through there. It's very difficult. It's almost like a one-line route. We can already see as well, Will Munro has already lost his wing here off the start, and you can see the contact sort of bruises on the front of Dave Arney's car. So I would say there's been a little bit of a checkup and a bit of a kiss on the rear cheek there as Marty Hansen's now dropping down the order, and he is on the side of the track at the moment at the exit of 5. So 2 laps in a row. We've had a car go wide onto the left-hand side of track at the exit of turn number 5, and he will be at the back with Lorne McKee and Simon Farrington here. So they're just dropping like flies already up the front. But no safety car to report just yet as we come through Ascari once again. See here, 014 car Rick Feiger, the Mr. Unlucky in split 2 throughout his time here, watching over his shoulder. That's exactly right. Anakin, Hoffenpower started from the back. They're already up 7 spots, just taking advantage of those drivers that may have started in the pits or who made some mistakes. Jim Caparonis is up 8 spots as well. They're all doing the business right now. Game. These drivers as we come into turn 1 on board with Viger, our race leader at the moment. And through 2. So we can see the top 2 have not dropped or gained anything on each other. Hockey up 2, Simple down 1, Corbett up 1, Boardman down 2, Strange up 3, Grech up 5, Cesar down 1, Fisher and Riali up 4, Cullen up 5, Verme down 2, Poynton up 6, Buckland up 1, Latham up 2, Peck up 2, Weston and Sheriffs are up 3, Powell up 6, Martin up 3, Taylor up 1, Caparonis up 9, Munro up 4, Arnie up 2. That is our top 25 gainers and losers in this race so far. So we make our way round. There we see the bridge that they all run under on the old circuit. You can see the banking on it as they race down towards Ascari. As we watch them all make their way through. You see the sort of similar lines that all these drivers are taking through Ascari. I mean, it's such a quick section of track. Back up towards the front now with the leaders of this race. Viger, Hockey, Sipple, that is the top 3. Hockey's now gotten past Houghton. Houghton's actually had a moment. He's dropping spots here. So out of the tow, and it's meant that he's now dropped down to P5. He'll slot in just behind Glenn Corbett. This has now put Sipple on the podium. As mentioned, Hockey up into P2. He's up 3 spots now. So could he be trying to power his way through to a 3rd victory in a row this season? He's been our only winner so far. Come down towards 4 and 5. And this is such a tough section of corners as well. It's really, as I mentioned, one line. You really just got to curb hop and hope for the best when you come on exit to not gas it up too much and lose the rear end. The exit on this corner as well, you can run it a bit wide, but you don't want to get too cocky and get a slowdown. As we come through the next set of corners. It is such a fun bit of circuit to race on though. And this bit here, one of the fastest on the whole circuit. There's a reason why it's called the Temple of Speed. Pinch the fronts mark. And up through Ascari we come. Such a quick, almost, it is quite a difficult section. This is one of those sections as well that we're going to have to be careful of incidents happening. Very easy for drivers to think they can go too wide through here. One hits the other and one ends up either on the left-hand side or right-hand side of track, and then all hell can break loose as we come down towards the Parabolica. One of the fastest corners on our calendar this season. A lot of G's that these drivers would be pulling if they were actually driving the cars in real life. As we start lap number 5, and only 7 minutes into this race, we're already 5 laps into it, and we are speeding on through. No safety cars to report just yet. The drivers just try and take advantage, as Regali is the first to jump into the pits now. So he comes in nice and early. Remembering 2 compulsory pit stops in the vets this season, so he wants to get his first one out of the way. Same with Paul Hayes, he comes in. Remember, he started from the lane, so he's got a whole heap of ground to gain here tonight over the course of this race. Does he have the strategy correct, though, to get it done? Let's check out some of these big movers at the moment. Caperonis up 11 spots right now. He's got Munro and Arnie trying to chase him down like rabid wolverines on the assault on a poor little helpless bird in the middle of nowhere. We've got Michael Power up 10 spots. What a start he's had so far. Cullen's dropping spots, but I think it might be because he may have dropped out for a moment there. Hoffman's up 11 as well, so he is just pounding his way through this field. He's in behind Mark Howard at the moment, as Cullen's now loaded back in. So Hoff starting from the back of the field, same with Power. These guys are up around about the same amount of positions, although Power only up 9 now. But the teammates just wanting to work together. And Supercheap Auto entries just to find their way through this field and stay clean and stay consistent. So all these drivers up until from P27 up until P10, so from Craig Healy all the way up to Damon Fisher, all of those drivers have gained positions in this race. None of them have actually lost out. Then there's a couple of stragglers either end of the timing tower who have dropped spots in this one. But let's look at this train. It's a 7-car train at the moment, starting to form at the front of the field. Viger, Hockey, Sipple, Corbett, Houghton, Boardman, Strange, all involved in this. Strange at the fastest lap in the week's... Oh, he's done some incredibly fast laps for the split 2 drivers this week in practice. Boardman, though, did the fastest lap time in the actual official practice session before this race took place here tonight. So he's got some good pace about him. But all of these guys will be hoping to do their best here tonight. Let's check out some of the best lap times at the moment. Corbett currently with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:47.879. So that is where the pace lies for him here tonight. A couple of other drivers, or only one other driver's actually got a 47. That was Darryl Hockey. Everyone else is 48s or above in this race. And then if we check the stops, well, it's claiming that everyone's actually done stops, but they haven't yet. So go back to game and see what happens throughout this race. See this, Hockey and Viger starting to pull away now from Sipple. They've almost broken the toe. The toe's about 1.5 seconds here at Monza. It has a lot of, I mean, it can be overpowered sometimes, but it doesn't appear to be too bad here tonight. I think that also comes down to the lack of downforce these supercars can have. There's not much aero on them. It's literally just a splitter at the front and a wing on the back. Don't forget, guys, let me know. As Hockey here, just quickly, Hockey tries to go for the move down into turn number 1. Gets it done. Viger lets him have it. Nice clean move, nice and early, and Hockey is already up 4 spots and back into the lead of a V8 Vets race once again this season. Hopefully we don't have another Bathurst scenario like what we had today where he just runs away with it and finishes 23 seconds ahead of P2. The Vikings are going to come back at him now down at turn 4. Can't get it done. Just slots in behind him and wants to be patient now. We're not too far away from more cars coming to the pits. Latham and Arnie are already into the pits at this point in time. That's what I was going to say before, guys. Just remember, get into the chat. Let me know what you think about this Monza circuit. Let me know how you felt on the night of the race, how you went with the setup. Also, let me know how you're going with the Legacy Silverstone circuit. I cut a couple of laps today, and that is definitely the superior layout compared to the current Silverstone and the 2008 one. That is just so much fun. So much flow about it. Absolutely fantastic. On board with Darryl Hockey right now. Leading this championship at the moment. He's currently leading the championship. He's currently leading the championship 369 points to 331 to Andrew Hoffman in P2 at the moment. Now Hoffman, of course, P24 in this race, so there could be a big jump in points if they were to finish where they currently are. Come into turn 1-2. Yes, it is, Halil. It's the Legacy Silverstone circuit, so it's the historic one. It was the original Silverstone build that was on iRacing. It's the pre-2009 build of Silverstone, so it's the one where it has like the farmer straight. And it can say that Hoff found it boring, meaning that Monza was boring. Anakin. I mean, it can be a bit boring when it's a bit hard to make your way through the field. It's definitely better in a faster paced car. Yeah, it's definitely, and I think, you know, depending on how we go tonight, I mean, obviously we'll see what the outcome is. There may be a reason why he found it boring as well, so we will wait and or see. So. But this battle is starting to spice up the top. Top 4 cars now within a second of each other. Or just about a second. It's about 1.25 seconds back to Houghton. Then we've got Corbett back in P5. He's another 1.5 seconds away. He's got Boardman right on his tail at the moment. See him trying to chase down the hypersonic driver just ahead of him. Hypersonic versus Velocity. Who's going to have more pace out of the Temple of Speed as they come through the Parabolica? You can see the turn in now from Boardman. And from Corbett ahead of him. Hoffman comes into the pits. He comes in out of the lead. Look at the run that Boardman's now got, though, down the main straight on Corbett here. So we come into 1 and 2. Yes, that's right, Bruce. Exactly right. They have absolutely no aero whatsoever. They need less. Let's check out a battle that's happening further back through the field. We've got a battle of 2 former teammates at the moment. Will Munro, Mark Howard. Hoff's involved in this. Same with Caperonis. This thing could be beginning to spice up a little bit. Or a bit of a wiggle off exit, but does he have a run here down towards turn number 4? Remember, it's very difficult to get this move done. You've almost got to get it done just before the braking zone, and remember to get your braking marker absolutely spot on. How's the run going to be? He looks like he's going to go for it. He does. Down the inside, massive rear lock, loses the rear. Oh, over the curbs and contact into Caperonis on the exit. Doesn't hold the brakes. Howard runs into him. And this race has just begun to go off, and you can see all the wounds that is on that Simrings Infinity Motorsport car as he jumps over the curb like it's a berm. And he will be licking those wounds all the way back to the pits, but because he's still rolling, we still have no safety car. Let's have a look at Caperonis' car. How's that starting to go at the moment? You can see the war wound on the driver's side front end. He's still driving. We'll see if he comes into the pits. How's Mark Howard going as well? We need a front end view of that car. And he's got an exact... So they're almost identical. They're almost like matching tattoos on the front of those cars off that incident. I expect a penalty to come the way of Will Munro very shortly, as a lot of the drivers up the top of the field have come into the pits. Viger, Sipple, Houghton, Corbett, Strange, Cesar, Fisher, all into the pits now. Boardman, Grech, Point and Cullen all stay out. But we'll have to see if Caperonis and Howard come in after the contact. We know that Munro is. His car looked absolutely crumpled like an old chocolate wrapper. Caperonis decides to stay out. Howard comes in. So does McKee. So does Healy. So does Power. And, of course, Munro eventually makes his way into the lane. But I do expect a penalty to come his way off the back of that decision. As he makes his way down the lane now. And then into the pits. So we see the fast repair gets used. Hopefully he doesn't need to repair that car again. But up the front, James Boardman, Velocity Racing Team, leads the way. Has not come into the pits yet, though. Currently the top 12 cars yet to come into the pits. Boardman, Grech, Point and Cullen, Vermey, Buckland, Weston, Martin, Taylor, Hoffman, Caperonis, Cullen have all not come into the pits. Everyone else has done one pit stop. Farrington, though, was in the pits lap 1 because he started in the pits, so he will need to pit twice still in this race to be classified. So top 13 cars are yet to pit for recognised pit stops. But the top 12 cars have not been through the lane at all this race. You can see here, look at Poynton putting the pressure on Grech. Poynton doing very well at the moment. You see the wall wound on the side of the Max's car right now. We'll see, though, when these guys come in the pits. Boardman has come in out of the lead. So does Grech, so does Poynton, so does Cullen. So the top 4 in. What does Vermey do? He slots in as well. So does Buckland in behind him. What about Weston? He comes in. Todd Martin stays out. Taylor comes in, though. So does Hoffman. Surely Caperonis and Cullen have got to come in this lap. They do. So both those boys in. What about Farrington? No, he stays out a little bit longer. Anakin's saying... okay, just quickly as well. So, Will Munro is saying not so much bad luck as bad judgment. Stephen Murray then following that up with the skill left the building, Will. No, he just ran out of talent on that one. And then Anakin saying, yes, Hoff did a little poo when it happened. I would not blame him. That would be an ultimate pucker moment for sure, coming up onto the back of that. So after the initial pit stop period, Mario Reale has actually now slotted into provisional first place in this race. He did actually have quite a short pit stop. It was only an 18-second stop. So not much fuel went into that car. So he might be doing a bit of a short stint and then a longer stint later on. Hockey did a 40-second stop, so he's actually put quite a fair little bit of fuel in that car. 1 minute 6-second lane travel for him there, so that's actually one of the longest lane travels we've seen, other than Boardman, Corbett, and Cullen, as well as Hoffman too, and as well as Mal Powell. But yeah, a lot of these drivers they're actually, or more or less actually, kind of averaging between 30-second travel and about 1:13 between all of them, as Perrins actually took about 1:15 to come through the lane. I believe Will Munro will actually have a drive-through, possibly. I think he may have actually just committed that one then. So that's why he's also so far down the order now as well. So he has actually received a penalty and he has committed to it. It was a drive-through, so he's now back out, but back in P34. So it could be a long rest of this race for him, with 24 laps to go here tonight. Todd Martin, the leader of this race, into the pits. Does Farrington come in? He does. So Mario Reale will now come around the Parabolica and take the lead of this race off of both men here tonight. He's got quite a nice little lead here back to Viger. It's around about 8 seconds at the moment. You can see it there. He's still kept Houghton behind him, though, through that pit stop period. Be interesting to see where we all line up after the second pit stops roll around in probably about 10 laps' time. Sipples managed to be in P4. Strange, though, he's just actually gotten it done down the straight, even before the braking zone. Woomano saying, I'm out there going where the F is, the brake markers. Oh, that's right. There is none on the left-hand side of the track. Then my wonderful son, who was spotting for me, started. Anakin saying lap 16, go look at Jim and Hoff, split one, take note. I will have a look at that, and I'll keep that in mind. Anakin, thank you for letting me know. We will check out that battle ensuing soon enough, for sure. As Simon Farrington now drops down the order after coming out of the pits. Just missing out on that little 4-pack battle at the moment. Hoffman, though, P29, done pretty well out of these pit stops. As Latham's dropping down the order, he's gone off the track into the sand. And that is not going to do him any favours whatsoever. Although I think he will be able to get going again before Will Munro comes along, if I'm aware. Yes, he should. He's coming into turn 1-2 at the moment. Although Munro, I think, actually might get past him. He does. So that is a free position for Will Munro off of that one. Back up the front now. Reali leads the way. 2.7 seconds is the gap back to Viger, who has gained quite a fair bit of time on this lap. So we'll have to see what these drivers are made of here. Viger actually set his fastest lap of the race last time by a 148.43. The fastest lap of the race, though, as I mentioned, has been done by Glenn Corbett, 147.88. No one has yet to beat it. The only driver to come close is Darryl Hockey, a 147.94 as of right now. That lap, though, Viger was managed to do a time of 148.80. He actually outlapped Reali by half a second on it, so he is gaining massively at the moment with the pace that he is currently running. Look at the run here through 4-5 on board with Reali at the moment. Picture perfect, I would say that is. That looks incredibly nice. Nice and tidy, nice and clean. Come through sort of past the half-fast right-handers. Such a great section. This used to be one of my favourite sections of track back on the early 2010s F1 games, which is so fun to whip around there in fourth gear. Mono saying, hey, I had additional pit lane entry and exit practice bonus. Well, hopefully we're not too far away from Monza again in the vets, and you'll be able to put that practice into fruition, into action, I should say. Check out this big gain, though. Michael Power up 10 spots so far. Sorry, I should do this properly. 10 positions gained so far for him. Then we've got Daniel Sheriffs and Mark Peck. 11 positions gained. But the leader of this race, Mario Reali, has got the most so far. 14 positions gained. Mark out saying, can you tell me the difference in pit time between myself and Sybil, please? Yes, I can. So, Mark, your pit stop time was 30.19. Sipples was 34 seconds. Your pit lane travel time was 58.15. His was 1 minute 0.99. So you actually gained about 2 seconds on him in that pit stop, being that you were 2 seconds faster than him in your lane travel. So that was the time you actually gained on him in that stop. But now you've actually got about 6 seconds out from him battling in behind Jason Strange at the moment. Which we can see here. Strange as well. What an impressive amount of laps Jason has done this season. I mean, I believe he did over 1,000 laps leading into Sandown. He must have just absolutely nothing else to do other than just cut laps for vets to be able to do 1,000 laps in a week. I mean, your pit time, Jason, was 31.65 pit stop time, 59.41 lane travel time. Yeah, he would have taken more fuel, seeing it was longer. But yeah, I mean, Jason, to do over 1,000 laps for one race. I mean, Scott Perrins did the most last season with 5,000 laps total for the season. So just full commitment to this series to be able to gain that pace and obviously you want to be able to put a challenge in for split one at this point, being that you're trying just to keep that pace up, get used to the tracks, and get as much seat time as possible. It's quite commendable to pretty much use what I would assume is like almost your entire week on just doing those laps and getting used to this car and track and setup combination as well. But we are now lap 15 of this race. Let's check out how that battle was actually ensuing earlier on. It's Caperonis, Hoffman, Power. These guys all following in behind Sean Cullen at the moment, trying to do their best. They've also got Farrington just up the road from them. Yeah, that's understandable, Jason, 100%. 7 months off the sim, you've got to be able to take that time to get used to it once again. So totally understand the need for that. And also getting used to the fixed setups again. Mark Pecto is now dropping down the order just quickly. What has happened here? I think he's just lost out on the exit of turn number 2. He's been eaten alive by the vultures of the cars ahead of him. Let's head back to this battle that was ensuing. On board now, Andrew Hoffman, the Super Jeep Auto entry number 51 car. In behind, Jim Caperonis, Sean Cullen, and Simon Farrington, as I mentioned. That's the run going to be 2, 4, and 5. Check out the inputs from him. Track map as well, I should say, so we can actually keep an eye on where people are on track. Let's bring up our battle box so we can see how close these guys are actually fighting at the moment. So hit up with Caperonis right now. The industrial batteries edge here of old mate and sons. Oh, look at that curb hop from Sean Cullen there through a Scari. It's almost like a bungee jump, but in reverse, coming off the ground, almost like a called now. It's gone from my brain. The run through Parabolica. See them all here into turn number 1, 2. Hoffman on the outside, Caperonis on the inside. Cullen's going for a move on Farrington, but backs out of it. Hoffman tries to go around the outside on them. Gets down the inside of Cullen for the left-hander. And now Caperonis is looking to get back up at them. Can't even see them through the trees, but we can see the remnants of the old circuit from this cam. So they make their way through. It was an exceptional pass by Hoffy. He really made that look easy. Just phenomenal. Really smart driving by all of them as he looks to go for it on Farrington. Look at him. He's pushing him through the corner. That was one of the closest runs I think I've ever seen from two Vets drivers, but now he's got Cullen on the attack outside leading up towards Ascari. Can he get the run up on him into the initial left-hander of the chicane? He gets past him here. Caperonis now lines up in behind him, and there's a lot of drivers in behind who want to take advantage of these moves that are happening right now. Look at the wheel hop there over the curb hop I should say, from Michael Power. 2 wheels up in the air through that corner. Phenomenal viewing right now as we see Hoffman want to do it into the Parabolica. Cullen on the outside. They go too wide through the corner, but Hoffman's got the inside line. This should give him the better run through the corner. Caperonis wants to follow him down the main straight, but Cullen's now back into the toe. This is going to help him get pulled along here by Hoffman just ahead of him. As we come up to 1-2 again, Caperonis Inside, outside. They go 2 wide through 1 and 2. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there off the exit. Lucky not to collect Sean Cullen as they try and chase down Farrington now up towards 4 and 5. This is an incredible battle that we are seeing just come unglued here with these drivers. But Farrington has now been allowed to just kind of break away a little bit. Around about a second is the gap between them. How's Huffy going to go trying to chase him down? You can almost see the drivers in behind him. Not one touch. I mean, apart from Hoffy kind of pushing Farrington through the right-hander, which, I mean, that wasn't even like, it was, you know, that was like just, he was just nudging him through. Phenomenal, great driving. Split 2 has really just stepped up its game this season in terms of clean driving pretty much across the board, apart from a couple of things that have happened. But it has been incredibly, incredibly clean so far. As Paul Hayes comes into the pits for his second scheduled pit stop. Let's head back up the front. Riali got about a 1.2 second gap back to Viger now. Houghton's now dropped off the back of Viger. It's about a 1.1 second gap back to him from Rick. Strange as well, another around about 9/10 back from Houghton. Oh, sorry, I apologise. Actually, that was the interval, so it's actually about 2 seconds back. I do apologise. Yeah, Stephen, I would... It did appear that he was going a bit slow through the corner. A lot of drivers have said before that Simon's actually very, I don't want to say annoying, but he's difficult to follow because he makes questionable moves while he's like defending. Like, he's fine in behind people, but following him can sometimes be a little bit weary for some of the drivers. But he did very well there to kind of not, you know, cause anything to happen or anything like that. And, you know, all those guys should be commended for how clean that racing was. In fact, the battle's starting to heat up once again. We can see Hoffy trying to get it done through up towards Ascari once again. Didn't have to push him through the corner that time as Hoffy looks to get this done on Farrington here down towards Ascari. I think Farrington's actually going to let him go, and he does. So very commendable by him as they come up to Ascari. You can see how many drivers are involved in this. It goes all the way back to Lorne McKee, who's P30 at the moment. So it goes from P23 down to P30 right now, as Sheriffs and Riali have now come into the pits ahead of these guys on track. We'll head back up the front with the new leader. He's now retaken the lead of this race, Rick Viger. Angry Birds Racing entry with Kumo tyres on board. So we are now just starting to come into the pit stop period here. This should be our final stop for the race. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was a smart move by Farrington. Respectable move as well, just to let him go, because he knew that he was actually going to be faster than him in the section. You know, honestly, really commendable. I don't think he would have done that maybe 2 seasons ago when he was last in Split 2, but that has shown some growth there just to let them pass, which is very good. So. When I was saying mobile chicane at times. Yeah, I mean, we've seen that at times, but I think he has got his pace on his day. And as I mentioned, commendable thing just to let Hoffy through there. You know, he didn't have to let him go, but he did, you know, which was good to see, because he knew that Hoffy was faster than him. So we'll have to see, though, how he goes with Jim Caperonis maybe later on in this race, if those guys are still battling at any point. But we're going to come around the Parabolica now to start lap 20 of 35 here tonight. And we are racing through this. We're just over half an hour through, and we're already past the halfway point of this race. Anakin saying, seen you be a pothole at times. Well, hey, before he was a roadblock. Before we saw that earlier in the race, lap 9. But one thing we have not seen is Rick Viger be a roadblock. Let's check out some of these other battles that have been forming throughout the field. Buckland and Brett Taylor at the moment, only separated by around about 2.5 tenths in this race right now. These guys are nice and close. The official saying Rick Viger is in full flight right now. He is just trying to walk away, build as much of a gap as he can before this pit stop period. Him and Houghton had very, very similar pit stop times. So I would say they put in a very similar amount of fuel, and they're probably going to put in a very similar amount of fuel on this second stop as well. So he's actually more or less trying to build a gap from some of those drivers that may have actually had a shorter stop, a longer stop than him, sorry, on the first stop, and he'll do a shorter stop now. So that's definitely what he's probably trying to do at this point. Let's see anyone else who's having a good little battle at the moment. We've got Boardman with Verme a couple of tenths behind him, but he's got Wreck just ahead of him at the moment. Let's try and get it done towards Parabolica. Does he have a run here? Oh, pokes the nose up the inside. Don't think he can get it done though, but we'll see how we go here. Through Parabolica onto the straight. Beautiful drive out of the corner from both drivers. And now it's just a straight up drag race down to turn 1-2. Have to see who can get it done though here as we come down. And Boardman gets it done to move up into P9. Mark Poynton's now dropped a spot. He may have had a little bit of a moment on the exit. Jason Strange saying, really enjoyed the battle with Troy. Had to keep my wits about me. Brett Fisher saying, there was a pun in there somewhere. Yeah, I think, you know, you definitely got to keep your wits about you around Troy. Had a bit of a disappointing return to Split 2 last season. But he has now started just to try and get back up to speed and back into contention this season. Struggled round 1 with the contact early on, and then his race was kind of over from there. Struggled a little bit last week, but you know, looked a little bit better. But this week, looking absolutely phenomenal. P4, you know, back up into a contentious spot. Could possibly even get a podium here tonight if it goes his way. And he's a very tough customer to race against, that is for sure. So, as well as Halil Cesar currently coming up behind you guys too. Houghton just ahead. So this is a very tightly contested top 5 battle pack. They may not be all around each other at the moment on this current lap, but they're all very, very tough drivers to race around. So, but they're, you know, somewhat competitive, but also somewhat fair too, which is good to see. So start of lap 22 now. Viger still leads the way to Houghton, to Strange, to Sipple, to Cesar, to Hockey, to Fisher, to Poynton, to Boardman, to Grech. That is the top 10. Verme, Corbett, Buckland, Taylor, Cullen make up the 15. Weston, Martin, Powell, Caperonis, Farrington make up the 20. So we are looking good at the moment. We've got about 14 laps to go in this race here tonight. We're well into the second pit stop period. Top 5 drivers all came in lap 9. Hockey came in lap 8. Fisher came in lap 9. Then the 4 drivers behind, or 3 drivers, 4 drivers behind them came in lap 10. Corbett was lap 9, and then lap 10 all the way down to Ed Cullen in P16. So they all came around, they all came in around about the same time. The highest position driver who has done 2 official pit stops is Mario Reali, P22. Technically, Farrington's been in the lane twice, but he still needs to do a second compulsory pit stop, as his first one was on lap 1. Let's just do a little bit of a run through the field. So currently P35, we've got Michael Power. Peter Latham currently sits P34. Then we've got Scotty Perrins, P33. Ron McKee still running around P32. Then we've got Andrew Hoffman in P31, who's actually done his second stop, as Mark Houghton has now come in for his official second stop. Marty Hansen then we've got in P30. Then we've got Will Munro, P29, who is yet to do his second pit stop. Paul Hayes has completed his pit stops, but he's in P28 at the moment, so he has a lot to gain right now. Mark Peck, P27, and Daniel Sheriffs in P26 have both completed their compulsory pit stops. Craig Healy in P25, Dave Arney P24, Sean Cullen in P23. These guys still need to do one more stop in this race. Mario Reale, who I mentioned in P22, has done both of his stops. Mark Howard just in front of him, as well as Simon Farrington in P20, Jim Caparonis in P19, Mal Powell P18, and Todd Martin in P16 have all got to do their second stop as well. Poynton has also come in out of the top 10. Mark Houghton is now the highest seeded driver to have done a second compulsory pit stop, so he's actually jumped Reale in the pits, as well as Poynton. Poynton also jumped him too, as he's just come out alongside Jim Caparonis as they come into turn 1 and 2. Just lets him go there. That was a smart move. And we can see Howard, though, trying to get a move done on Farrington into 1 and 2. They go too wide through the corner. Who's going to get a better run down towards turn number 4? Let's just see this pass happen. If it does, they've got Reale, who is on an absolute boosting right now. He wants to try and make as many spots up as he can after coming in for that second stop. He's got the inside line at the moment, coming down to 4. We see Poynton go for the move. Backs out of it, though. Reale's going to go too wide with Howard through here. Gets it done. Howard lets him through. Respectable racing by all. Jason Strange saying, I can't remember what lap it was, but my pit entry was pretty hectic. We will see when it does happen. It's not this lap, so we'll check back in on the next lap as Troy Sipple does come in for his compulsory stop. Ed Cullen, P14 at the moment. We've got Scott Weston, Brett Taylor, Gary Buckland just ahead of them, and then Glenn Corbett, currently P10 Hypersonic Racing entry. Darryl Hockey's also come into the pits. We've got Peter Vermey, Stephen Grech, Darryl Hockey, who I mentioned in the pits, then Boardman, Sipple, Fisher, Cesar, Strange, and Viger leads the way right now to the rest of that field as we are entering the second pit, or we're kind of at the early entry point of the second pit stop period. A lot of these drivers coming in, taking advantage of certain things, wanting to try and mitigate their pit stops as much as possible. Remembering that these drivers started with a half tank of fuel, so they would have either put in a full tank at the first stop and then just done tyres on the second, or they may have done a 50-50 split, maybe a 30-70 split. What was needed was 112 litres. Now, you could get home on 111. You only needed to save 1 litre of fuel, so but it's pretty easy to save fuel around here, as was mentioned on Friday night on Split 3, on the Split 3 broadcast, so easily able to do it around this track. But Viger leads the way. He is approaching the rear end of Michael Power up ahead, up the road. But, of course, Michael is lap traffic. No one is yet to go a lap down other than Peter Latham at the moment. There's Strange saying, I did lots of practice on old tyres, so felt comfortable running this stint long. As Viger comes in, does Strange follow him? He does not, so he will now actually take the lead of this race. Mark Houghton saying, nice work, Troy. Awesome strategy. Yep, Troy able to jump Mark in that pit stop. About a 4-second difference on the pit stop. About 4.3 second difference on the lane travel. So that was the difference on that one between both of those guys. Fisher and Boardman have also now come into the pits. So Strange will now lead Cesar and Grech and Vermey over the course of lap 25. 45 minutes into this race now, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 11 laps to go, or nearly 10 and a half laps to go, I should say, as we come down to turn 4-5 with our current leader, Jason Strange, the number 21 Industrial Batteries entry for Old Mate and Sons. Just looking cool, calm, and collected at the moment. Nice and clean right now. Doing a very respectable job of this. Being that he's only done one race this season, Jason currently sits P40 in the championship. But a win here tonight would really help him jump up the order, remembering that round 1 will likely be his drop round, seeing as he was unable to race. But that will all be determined throughout this season, of course. I mean, we still have 7 rounds to go after tonight. Remembering that next week we are at Silverstone, the Legacy Circuit, the 2008 Grand Prix layout for what I think will be probably one of the best races of the season. We then head out to the US of A for a tryout of races. 2 of them in California and then 1 over in Miami. So we start our little US excursion in Long Beach for a brilliant street circuit race, 150 Ks around there. Then we go over to Laguna Seca, still in California, and then we head over to the East Coast for Homestead, Miami, doing the road course at that oval. As Jason Strange continues out on track now, lap 26 of 35, so quite a long stint now for him in this one. We'll get our stint lengths up as well, if we can. Let's get rid of that for the moment. So if we bring up our stint lengths, so he did 9 laps on the first stint, 16 on this one. Cez has done the exact same thing. Buckland, Grech, Verme, all currently on the same strategy, as well as Taylor as well. But all of them are now coming to the pits. Verme, Grech, Taylor, Cullen, all into the pits. Viger is now back up into P4. And he is currently the provisional P1 sitter at the moment. Anakin Daly saying Laguna Seca, home of the Sandcastles. Oh, it is. You will hate that place, being that Anakin hates sand. Houghton saying heating up for effective lead 8, 9, and 10. Exactly right. It is. It's a very, very tight battle at the moment. It's going to be very interesting to see where Strange actually comes out in terms of positioning, being that those guys are all so tight at the moment in behind. But we'll bring back up our battle pack just so we can see where everyone is in comparison. It is quite a large gap though, about 20 seconds back to P3 in Buckland, or 27 seconds actually. That's 5 seconds back to Cesar. There you can see him just in the background there of Strange. But when will he jump into the pits? He came in lap 9. I would assume he's done a full tank at this point, so... Or maybe not quite. But it appears he's coming into the pits. And he's got Perrins there. Massive lockup. Great car control, though, not to collect Perrins on the entry. As Cesar stays out and takes the lead. That was incredibly close, incredibly tight. That would have been a pucker moment for sure for the leader of the race at that point. Will Viger get past him, though? They come down towards the Parabolica. He's got Sipple in behind, looking to poke the nose. Then Houghton in behind him. They make their way round the final corner, remembering that Buckland and Cesar are yet to come into the pits, as well as Malpal in P7 at the moment. These guys are obviously staying out. Where is Strange? He's making his exit. Viger's going to get him, though, so Viger and Sipple get past Strange, as well as Houghton. He's going to slot out of the pits just behind them now. What's the gap going to be as he comes through one? There you can see it. 3.7 or 3.9 seconds, almost 4 seconds actually, is now the gap as he comes out of the pits. So he's going to have to do a bit of a chase down of them if there's no safety cars in this one. But here's our leader, Halil Cesar. Needs to come into the pits once again, remember. Doing a very good job so far. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out of the pits. 22.6 second gap back to P2 in Buckland at the moment. So he may not actually drop that far down. He definitely won't lose the spot to him. Viger did a 20-second pit stop. Sipple did 14.13. Houghton did 18.77. Strange did a 19.75. So it's really all going to come down to now the actual pit lane travel time as Cesar actually stays out. He has a 35.77 gap back to Strange. So it's all going to come down to that lane travel time. I mean, Viger through Strange, they've all done between 40 and 47 second lane travel. So it's going to be incredibly tight on that one. He probably needs to gain around about 5 to 10 seconds on them, which is going to be incredibly hard to do if he really wants to take advantage. Mal Powell in P7, though, 41 seconds back, although he needs to come into the pits. Darryl Hockey, 44 or 45 seconds back. That, I think, is where actually Cesar should come out, around about Darryl Hockey and Mark Poynton in P8, P9 at the moment. Oh, these things happen, Jason. You know, it's good to be able to figure out that strategy as best as you can and know when that optimal time is to come in. You know, it's that's really now going to be one of those key things this season, is getting that strategy absolutely perfected to take advantage of undercuts or overcuts or going on alternate strategies as well, and having a couple options lined up in terms of pit stops to give you the most advantage that you could possibly have within the rules, obviously. So at the moment now, the only three drivers who've not come in for a second compulsory pit stop are Halil Cesar, Gary Buckland and Mal Powell. Everyone else has done a second compulsory pit stop in this race. As Cesar comes in. So he comes in out of the lead. Buckland, 22 odd seconds back. I would say he is very likely to come in as well. He's got Peter Latham in behind him, being that he is a lap down, or a couple of laps down possibly. But Cesar still in the pits there. You can see him. He's got a fairly good pit box as Buckland now comes into the pits. So where is Weiger? There's Weiger coming around the Parabolica. So he should get past these guys. And he does, to take back the lead of this race. Cesar drops. Weiger's at speed. Where will Cesar come out of the pits? Weiger, Sippel, Houghton all get past him. What about Jason Strange? There he is. He gets past him as well. Mal Powell needs to pit, remember. Cesar comes out of the pits, P5. That is a phenomenal effort from him. Up 3 spots now from where he started. Remembering that now Mal Powell is the only driver out there who needs to pit in this race. He's currently up 20 spots so far. But let's head back up to the leaders. Tight battle for P1 at the moment. 0.25 of a second between them, and it is dropping between Weiger and Sippel. This is going to be a tasty final 7 laps to the end of this race. Lap 29 of 35, 53 minutes in this. This is going to be intense. Strange on that lap did the fastest lap of the race, a 1:47.79. So before that, Corbett still had the fastest lap of the race. He had the fastest lap of the race up until that last lap. So Strange really putting the hammer down now to catch this top 3, put a challenge in for this win or even a podium, possibly for the first time this season. So we come through Ascari. And I mean, isn't it just absolutely fantastic to see a fight go to what will look like the very end of this race? This is looking intense right now. The energy is rising. We're going to come around the final corner. We're going to have 6 laps to go around Monza, the Temple of Speed. There is almost nothing in this. The top 3 are separated by under a second. The top 5 are separated by 5.7 seconds. As Sippel and Houghton into turn 1 and 2. Hard defending here from Sippel. He's now got the outside line. Could give him a nice run. He slots back into P2. Houghton just unable to get it done through the first couple of corners. He's not quite close enough to have a run to get it done into turn 4 and 5. This has now forced Sippel back. He's now over a second back from Weiger. He's going to have to work hard to really just cut this gap back down. There's not long to go in this race. This guy's racing for sheep stations at the moment. As they race harder and harder throughout this one. We know that Sippel and Houghton, these guys were the story of season 14. They were battling for that championship. Good to see 3 seasons later, these guys are still fighting for a podium. Remembering that it was Houghton who won 3 races that season. Sippel then managed to do the same thing and go on to win the championship and get up into split 1. But I have to wonder if Houghton feels like the second half of that season cost him the championship. We know that Todd Duggan took victories that season. A couple of other drivers sprinkled throughout took some victories too. And now the old rivalry is back once again to fight for this race and get some good points on the board in this championship. We start 31 of 35. As we come down through 1 and 2. Sipple gains nicely under brakes on Viger ahead of him here. How is the run going to be? Up towards 4 and 5. Go on board, Mark Houghton. 009 Accelerate Sim Racing car. The Abbey Timber entry. Nicely on the brakes into 4 and 5. You can see the gain that he had under brakes there. And Sipple's beginning to gain once again on the back of Viger now. This battle is nowhere near over. We're now 4.5 laps away from the checkered flag flying. And anyone tasting the sweetest of simulated champagne being that P1 position. Strange just trying to stick with these guys. 1.4 seconds is the gap back to P4. But the onus is on the top 3 right now. Strange is in the position to take advantage if anything happens. Same with Cesar in P5. And that'd be questionable because Mal Powell needs to pit again out of P6. I'll have to see what happens. As we come all the way down into the Parabolica, we're going to start lap 32. And Viger continues to lead the way. Could this be his day, his return to form, his return to the top step of the podium? Troy Sipple wants to do everything he can to stop that from happening and making the claim himself. He hasn't taken a win in Split 2 in 3 seasons since he last won the championship in season 14. Malpal comes in, so he gets in for his second pit stop. Let's check back some of these battles that are starting to occur in the background, and then we'll return to this one. Taylor, he's trying to chase down Paul Hayes right now. How's the run going to be down towards 1 and 2 for him here? It's a nice little battle starting to form. Just in behind Ed Cullen right now are these 3 drivers. As we come through 1 and 2, Hayes has done 3 pit stops this race. He mentioned some of the drivers prior to the race that 3 pit stops was actually going to be the meta. It was going to be good. There was a bit of a wiggle on the exit though for Cullen. Is Hayes actually going to have a run here as we come down to 4 and 5? Does he surely think so? Cullen looks to defend the inside. Hayes looks to go for it on the inside. He doesn't appear to be far enough up. Cullen follows his line. Lock up on the rears from Hayes. Taylor hits him. And he's now going to drop down a heap of spots. He's just having to wait for all these cars to come past. Nice little pirouette from him. Doesn't have to wait too long. Needs to watch the re-entry with Martin coming through. He's able to let him go. But you can see the wall wind on the side of Hayes' car. The lock-up, the contact. No contact through the corner. It was only the contact on the exit. But we're going to head up back to the front of the field to start lap 33. We have got 3 laps to go. Sipple looks to send it down the inside at turn 1. Can he get it done here? He's got the run at the moment. He gets past Viger. Sipple takes the lead of this race with 3 laps to go. Anakin, you are correct. That was a send from Paul Hayes. An absolute, he licked the stamp and sent that hard into the mailbox. Viger, though, looking to come back at Sipple now into 4 and 5. Can't get it done. See how close he's running in behind him. Back into the equation. Top 4 separated by around about 1.4 seconds at the moment. Cesar's about another about 1.6 back off them. Gain on the brakes for Viger through Ascari. Didn't appear to be so. But how's the run look? See them all just weaving on the track as they come up towards the Parabolica. Look at the gain under brakes for Viger. Is this now going to lead into a better run onto the main straightaway? Let's see the run down the straight. Look at Viger looking to go for it now. We've got 2 laps to go in this one. Viger on the inside of Sipple as they come up to 1-2. It's almost a picture-perfect recreation of what happened before. They come through the chicane. There's contact! Viger and Sipple are spun round, and they are out of contention now for the lead of this race, as it seems. What this has now led to, though, as Jason Strange has now been able to take the lead of this race. He's snuck past Mark Houghton. Cesar's now on the podium. And suddenly, with 1.5 laps to go, the entire format of this race has changed. The entire layout of this race has changed in terms of leading positions. Lap 34 of 35, Strange leads Houghton, leads Cesar, leads Viger, leads Sipple. That's the top 5. Poynton, Hockey, Grech, Borman, Reali make up the 10. Strange, though, with a completely clean car, will now lead them down towards Ascari. And you can see Houghton, he's under pressure from Cesar here. Cesar really wants to get this done. Doesn't want to just send it, though, down the inside of Ascari. It is very unfortunate that that happened. But it could mean a first-time victory for Jason Strange in split 2. Look at Cesar. He looks to have the run down the straight towards the Parabolica to get it into P2. He gets it done on Houghton. So now around the final corner, we are going to have 1 lap to go. Yeah, you're right, Anakin. He did. He gave it a bit of squirt mid-corner, then unsettled the car. He hit the chicane on the inside of turn 2, and it then kind of like spat his car, out towards the right, and it just clipped. It clipped Viger's car, unfortunately for him. Houghton saying damage. Exactly right. I can see the damage on the front of the car, but lap 35 out of 35. It's now the white flag lap. Jason Strange has now only got to survive this one more lap. He hasn't led since before his pit. He hasn't led this race since he came out of the pits. He will obviously get the extra point for leading laps prior to then. Comes round 4 and 5. Cesar's not quite close enough to get anything done now. Remembering that the slipstream is up to 1.5 seconds, but Cesar has to defend from Houghton in behind him. So the chat was saying this has been gifted to Strange. It appears it has, but a victory is a victory nonetheless. Winning is winning, as Dom Toretto once said in the Fast and Furious franchise. He just has to survive Ascari and the Parabolica, and he will be a split 2 winner in the Vets. Nice clean entry through Ascari. Nice clean exit as well as he bumps the curb. Oh, Anakin, I totally agree. It would have been Viger's. For some reason, he must have pissed off the iRacing gods because he's been very unlucky as of late. But regardless, we watch Strange's entry through the Parabolica. Looks nice and tidy. It appears it is going to happen for him. Onto the main straight. Jason Strange will claim victory out at Monza ahead of Cesar, ahead of Houghton. What a phenomenal end to that race it was. Rick Viger's going to come home ahead of Troy Sipple, so at least he got the on-track victory for the day. Mark Poynton up 14 positions in this race, finishes P6. Championship leader Darryl Hockey will come home in P7. Stephen Gretsch out of P8. James Bourbon out of P9. Mario Reali will make up the 10. And what a controversial and wild end to that one as we see Strange ripping a burnout in the old part that cuts out turn 1-2. Hoff up a massive 15 spots. Phenomenal effort from him. Michael Power up 10 as well. Only 3 drivers managed in the end to get above the 10 positions gained threshold. Everyone else just missed out. Jason Strange, though, up 9 in the top 10. But a phenomenal recovery, though, from Hoff, who started from the back. But we can see all of these drivers now make their way through. We can see just a heap of burnouts happening. There's Cesar in the bottom corner. But we will bring up our official race results. Remembering any of the podium finishers, if they want to come and have a chat to me after the race, hop into the green room and I will bring you in. If you can't make it into the green room, then just join one of the drivers' team chat only voice channels on the Vets Discord and I'll drag you in. But we will now run through our provisional race results here tonight. Jason Strange comes home to claim his first victory this season for Old Mate and Sons, ahead of Halil Cesar for TSM Cooler Master Racing out of P2. Mark Houghton will finish tonight's race out of P3 for Accelerate Sim Racing. A nice little recovery from him. Only losing one spot this race, but still a good podium finish for him. Rick Viger will finish tonight's race after an unfortunate end out of P4, ahead of Troy Sybil from Quantum Peak Performance Racing out of P5. Mark Poynton will finish tonight's race out of P6, ahead of championship leader Darryl Hockey out of P7, with Stephen Greck finishing tonight's race out of P8 in behind him. Mario Reale will finish ahead of his teammate Glenn Corbett in P9, Corbett out of P10, with Damon Fisher just missing out of the top 10 for Quantum Peak Performance Racing in P11. Gary Buckler will finish tonight's race out of P12, with Peter Verme finishing out of P13. Daniel Sheriffs will come home out of P14, just in behind them. Scott Weston will make up our top 15 for East West Racing GMK Logistics, just ahead of Mark Peck from Quantum Peck Performance Racing. Ed Cullen will finish tonight's race out of P17 for Shadow Racing, just ahead of Marty Hansen from East West Racing GMK Logistics at a P18. P19 tonight will go to Mal Powell from Dropper Gear Motorsports, just ahead of Andrew Hoffman from WKMP Sim Sports. Brett Taylor will come home tonight at P21 for Valve Motorsport, ahead of Todd Martin in P22, with Mark Houghton from Velocity Racing Team coming home out of P23. Dave Varney will finish tonight's race out of P24 for Pacific Esports Racing, just ahead of Velocity Racing Team's James Bourbon out of P25, who had an unfortunate slowdown on the final corner of the race, which dropped him down from inside the top 10. Craig Healy will finish tonight's race out of P26, just ahead of WKMP Sim Sports' Michael Power out of P27. Sean Cullen will then finish out of P28, just ahead of Jim Caparonis in P29, with Simon Farrington from Shadow Racing making up the top 30. The rest of the positions going to Lorne McKee, Will Munro, Peter Latham, and Scott Perrins, with Paul Hayes in P35, currently on these provisional standings here tonight. We have got Halil Cesar and Mark Houghton in the green room at the moment. Jason Strange is down the Old Mate and Sons room as well, so we will drag them all up in just a second. First, I will just drag them all in here tonight. If I can get Jason all the way up here. There we go. So we'll start with you, Mark, of course. P3 here tonight. P2 starting in this race. Bit of damage on the end of that one there, but still a nice and consistent one for him, and a good return to form for you as well. I've just realized as well, for some reason my headphones are not actually connecting to the sound output. Let me just try and fix this just for a second here. Is that going to work? No, it's not. I know what I need to do. Just quickly. Let me see if this fixes it. Yeah, there we go. Fix that. Sorry, Mark, could you just repeat what you said, please? Because no one was able to hear it on the broadcast for some reason.
Okay, yeah, no, enjoyed that race. Awesome racing. Congratulations to Lil and Jason for sneaking through at the end there. Bit unfortunate with Stips powering up in the first chicane there and taking out Rick. I think Rick's night tonight.
Yeah, I think, I mean, once again, he was really forever the bridesmaid, never the bride on this occasion once again. I mean, he's been very unlucky in the past, especially last season.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I think he was still lucky, though, to come home in P4 after the incident. I mean, the gap that he had was probably what actually led to him being able to do that. But still a good recovery for him, nevertheless. But, yeah, I mean, you know, you had a fairly good race. You were in the fight all race out there tonight. You know, really good effort for you to get back onto the podium once again. yet to see you get another win though this season. Maybe we'll see it happen later in this season. I think. What track do you think maybe could be your best chance at that coming up this season?
Not really sure. I haven't really looked forward to the tracks in the season. I'm actually in the process of having my wheelbase repaired, so I'm currently using a CSL CSL Elite, the old belt-driven wheel. Hoping to get my DD1 back this week, and we might find some pace. And fingers crossed, I'll be talking to you on the top spot of the podium this season.
Well, I mean, being that the final round is out of Road America, I recall last time we went there, you went from front of the field to the back of the field on the first lap, and then managed to do it the opposite way and actually come home and take a win back in season 14.
Yeah, very lucky that race. When I made a mistake into, I think, turn 2 and out into the fence, came around and pitted, and just after I came out of the pits, the safety car was called, so it was perfect timing. Very, very lucky, and came back through the field for a win. Again, at the end of the race, was very lucky to have a few cars tip themselves out, so yeah.
Oh, well, Mark, thank you for joining me here tonight. Let us know who's giving you and Accelerate Sim Racing the support out there, and hopefully we'll be able to chat again throughout this season.
No worries. Yeah, firstly, I'd like to thank all the competitors and sponsors for the league. Thank you to my team sponsors, Abbey Timber, Primal Wheels, Box and Lock Storage Narang, Modern Deck, Blacktown Mazda. Particular thank you to my teammates, obviously, that helped me through the week. And lastly, to my family and everybody for support. Yeah, no, loved it. Absolutely looking forward to the rest of the season.
Very good, mate. Well, thank you for coming and joining me here tonight. Good luck for the rest of the season, and we'll see how you go next week out at Silverstone.
Thanks, Hamish. Talk soon, mate.
Thanks, mate. Well, Halil Cesar, another intense run trying to make up positions in the end of a race once again. Last week, you just missed out on 6th position, but this week you find yourself on the podium. A phenomenal P2 for you here out in Split 2.
Yeah, thanks, Hamish. Yeah, it was a pretty sort of intense race with what was going on around us. But yeah, we had the pace to be there. Sort of at one stage of the race, we were doing pretty good, consistent laps. But I feel sorry for Rick. You know, he led the majority of that race. He should have been on the top step. But it is racing, and his time will come. And I do believe that will be very, very soon. So he's driving really well. Just been a bit unlucky.
Yeah, mate, I know it was, it was once again, as I mentioned, an intense run for you, trying to make up positions as best you could. I mentioned last time out at Sandown, you just missed out on that 6th spot. You probably needed maybe 1 or 2 more laps to get it done. But tonight, it kind of just laid out in your hands. You had an injured Mark Houghton ahead of you after the incident that happened with Viger and Sipple, making it pretty easy for you to get into P2. But I think P3 was on the cards for you anyway, being that although you had Strange ahead of you still, actually, now that I think about it. So it kind of brought you back into the fight. But I guess you've got to be in that position anyway to take advantage of incidents to be able to get onto the podium. So you did well regardless to get into that top 5 and in with a chance at a podium, and it pays off for you in the end.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, look, we our strategy on the night was basically do everything opposite to what everybody else was doing almost. We were actually surprised there wasn't a safety car, considering that a track like Monza where it banks up, through the chicanes and all that sort of stuff. So, we pitted last, as you know. So we had, I think, when I came out, I had 7 laps to go with fresh tyres, the freshest tyres out of the top 5 or 6 cars. And, me crew chief was saying to me, just go after it, man. You've got pace. You've got it there. You're not that slower than the leaders. If anything, at one stage I was doing faster laps than the leaders. So we were pulling them in slowly. But, we basically took on, I think it was about 4 seconds worth of extra fuel that we didn't need. So when the leaders went by us, we were hoping our strategy play was going to be that we tucked in just behind them so that at least at turn 1 I had a bit more of a chance. But where we ended up out of the pits and where they were, I'd really have to drive the wheels off the car to even get anywhere near their draft. As you know, on this track, drafting is king. It keeps you in the game.
Oh, 100%, mate. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Well, congratulations, though, on a P2 nonetheless. I'm sure, you've got the pace to get on the podium pretty much every week. Sometimes you miss out, sometimes you get there. So I'm sure we'll see you on the podium once again. And who knows, maybe even at the end of this season, you may even finish top 3 or even just pre-qualify to get back into Split 1 next time for season 18. But let us know who's giving you guys the support out there. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well, mate? Now's your time to do so.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, well, basically yourself and the vets, the sponsors that sponsor through vets and the admin team there, all the competitors. I mean, without all these guys and yourself, we wouldn't do what we do. But with my major sponsor, Quartermaster, I mean, we've been with for the last, 3 years, and without their support, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have my computer and doing the things I do. Mark Walden Mechanical, again, without his services that he provides me, and the backing that I get from him. Ignite Hobbies, RC Hobbies down at Campbelltown, without his sponsorship that I've just picked up. Again, without them, I wouldn't be doing what I do. So, yeah, no, really looking forward to what comes up from the future, from what we do here. But, again, like to thank everyone that we race with. And, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this season. I enjoy Split 2, as I've been there before, so we get some really good racing in it.
Very good, mate. Well, thanks for coming to chat to me tonight. I'm sure we'll chat again some other point in this season. Good luck next week out at Silverstone, and we'll see how you do.
Yeah, no worries. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too, mate. Thank you. Well, Jason Strange, a victory handed to you in the dying embers of this race, but it is a victory nonetheless. Congratulations to you on your inaugural victory here out of Split 2. A return to vets after quite a few months, but 3 races in, being only the second winner this season, that's got to feel pretty good.
Sure does, Hamish. I certainly wasn't expecting a win. Certainly not this early in my comeback. I just really wanted to run a clean race with decent lap times, which I pretty well did. Obviously, I had a bit of a Stephen Bradbury moment, which certainly I'm not gonna say no to. So it was lucky. I feel for Rick. That was really unlucky. In hindsight, I probably should have stopped maybe a lap or two before I did at the last stop there. I knew I'd be quick with light fuel and new tyres, so I figured I could hunt down the leaders if I was behind them, but I had too big a gap to really reel them in and be competitive and pass all 3. But unfortunate incident, but yeah, with when I saw that gap open up, I thought, oh no, I'm going to get caught up. And I thought, can I squeeze up the inside? And the waters parted for me, mate. So, yeah, couldn't be happier with the win. It was a real surprise, and yeah, I was stoked.
I mean, I think, we've seen quite a few Bradbury moments happen in vets. I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen someone take advantage of a late incident happening. They kind of just sneak on through and they take the lead from a couple spots back or even just 1 spot back. So, I mean, as I said, winning's winning, a victory's a victory. You still get your name into the history books of Split 2. And I think, you've shown that through your dedication of your practice and your lap times you've been performing. I have no doubt that I think you'll be at the top end of the championship order by the end of this season. If I quickly look at the championship order now, actually, being that I would assume round 1 is going to be your drop round. Would I be correct in assuming that?
Well, you'd hope so, because it was a 0 point.
Yeah. So, I mean, currently after this round, after this win as well, you are currently sitting, if I can find your name, P29. So you gain 11 spots off that win.
Yeah.
And this hasn't been adjusted though with drop rounds in it just yet because we don't have enough data. But I mean, I guess a bit lucky that Darryl wasn't any higher up in this race, being that he is leading this championship. He was able to extend his gap though over P2, but Viger was able to kind of reel him back in. But I mean, I guess with vets, anything can happen. Anyone could finish anywhere on the day. I mean, we've seen some phenomenal finishes already this season. And I think, tonight just proved that, within a split second, the whole landscape of a race can change. We already saw, 2 drivers drop out of the podium spots. Like, you would have almost guaranteed they would have finished where they were. But,
well, that's right. I suppose I look at it, I was reasonably quick the entire. I qualified really poorly, so I had to make up all of those spots. And my pit stop strategy I thought was quite sound. And I had to be in that position to be able to take advantage of that. So it wasn't just handed to me on a platter completely. I mean, I had to give myself some credit to be Johnny on the spot and be right with the leaders when the incident occurred. So, look, I moving forward throughout the season, I really just hope to do clean races. I don't want to take anyone out. I don't want to have any big off tracks or unforced errors or forced errors. My goal is just to get back in the swing of things and keep going faster and faster. And I'll keep putting on in the practice laps because practice makes perfect, as they say.
Oh, mate, that's exactly right. And as we mentioned, sort of since day one when I started broadcasting for vets, consistency is key in vets. I mean, Paul Burns is probably the Mr. Consistent that we've seen previously. It was only up until last season. Last season was when he got his very first win in vets, but he had been in the top 3 of Split 2 multiple times before that and made it into Split 1 just off his consistency by getting top 5 after top 5 and getting the majority of his finishes in the top 10. So, there's consistent finishes. They pay off. You don't necessarily have to win the most races in the season to get into the top 3. Now, obviously, last season, the champion won 5 races out of 10. So he was, of course, in the best position possible. But we've seen other seasons where it's gone right down to the wire. And even, season 14, someone only won because they were leading at round 9 and round 10 was cancelled because of iRacing server issues. So,
I remember it well, and that season really was what I cut my teeth. It's the first time I'd ever joined a league. I'd previously only really raced skip barbers in officials. A bloke called Shane Patterson replied to one of my comments on Facebook and said, "Why don't you join vets?" And I thought, look, I don't think I'm fast enough for that. I'm hopeless at the supercar. And yeah, it's season 14. I gave it a solid crack. Well done to Reg for winning that one. I think I was second in the end. And I just had a bit of life stuff going on, and I thought, I gave it everything for that season. I'm just going to have a break. And when you have a little bit of a break and that break just gets longer and longer and longer. And if it wasn't for Shane recently saying to me, just get back into it, mate. And I did, and I'm thankful to him for getting me back in the rig and getting me back in the vets. So, here we are.
I suppose, it all pays off in the end. Sometimes you need that little bit of a break and then just that little spark to get going again. So, I guess, congratulations once again on a P1 here tonight. Victory is a victory in the end. And I guess, you had to be there to be able to get that spot regardless. So you did well up until the point when you took the lead. And you were within the fight regardless, so you were where you needed to be to take advantage of anything that could happen. So let us know who's giving you the support out there, mate. Anyone who you want to give a shout out to as well, because you've more than well earned it taking home the victory here tonight.
Thanks, Hamish. Look, I can't thank my team, old mates and sons of Michael Quain, Gary Buckland, all the people there really. Flappy, everyone. If I tried to name everyone, I'd leave people out, so I'm not going to. Industrial Batteries Australia and Chubby Buns Burgers that help us out, and being part of such a good tight team has really reinvigorated me. I'm really doing it for them, not me, and I just enjoy the camaraderie of it all. And even everyone in vet, so welcoming, competitive but nice, if you know what I mean. Really enjoy it, and look to hopefully I never have to have another break again, and I can string a few seasons together, and maybe one day I might be able to have a crack at the back end of Split 1.
Oh, well, I mean, the way you're going at the moment, mate, who knows? Maybe that'll be where you end up venturing in season 18. But I guess, you've had a fairly good start to the season over these previous 2 races, one of them being a win. And I think, it's only up from here, I think. But, take it in your stride. If you have a poor performance one week, come back stronger. You can learn from your mistakes. And, I mean, I was saying to Will after the race from his incident, I said, doesn't matter that you made that mistake as long as you learn from it, because it's important to remember and reevaluate. Well, why did I decide to make that move at that corner? I thought I could do it. Well, now I know I can't do it there under those certain conditions. Maybe you could have pulled it off, but just learning from those things that that happen, and then trying to be better for it. is what's
patience.
important.
I think patience is the key.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing I learned, and that's what I did at Sandown. Just clean laps. You know, you don't need to win. Just clean laps. Just keep it on the track. Don't get in an incident. So yeah, I'll keep doing that for the rest of the season and see how we go.
Oh, mate, that's probably the perfect adage to have because, you know, points are easily lost in this league. They're very hard to gain. So if you can be as clean, as consistent as possible, it will pay off for you in the end.
Awesome. Thanks, Hamish. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, mate. Thanks for coming over to chat to me, and good luck this week out at Silverstone.
Cheers, mate. See you there.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you to Halil, Mark, and Jason for coming and have a chat to me here tonight. Thank you to everyone as well who tuned in to tonight's Split 2 broadcast. Be sure if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button and click the bell so you are notified anytime we go live across the weekend with our content. Split 3 Kitchen on Fridays, Beyond the Apex on Saturdays, and the Split 2 action on Sunday nights. Reminder that Beyond the Apex podcast is now on a hiatus. It will not be happening this Saturday night, the 14th of October. It will be returning on the 21st of October in two Saturdays' time. But Split 3, Split 2 still happening this coming Friday night and this coming Sunday night as well. Live with the action from Silverstone. Be sure to also go check out the SimSpeed YouTube channel to see the live action from Split 1 happening this Thursday night. 8:30 p.m. is when the race starts for Legacy Silverstone Circuit. Be sure to hit the like button as well. Get into the comments section of this video. And if you ever watch us live, get into the chat as well, because any engagement helps us spread the league wider and wider and helps us grow and helps more people see the vets as well. Massive thank you as well to all of the series sponsors: West End Motor Group, Logitech G, Parramatta Isuzu, Player One Sim Gear, and Nova Sim Sports as well. And a big thank you to everyone who's watched once again. Thank you for supporting the series. Thank you for supporting all the splits, no matter which ones you watch, whether you watch all three or you only watch one. It's much, much appreciated. But that will be all from me here tonight out at Monza, ladies and gentlemen. It was a great race tonight. Wild action all throughout. And I think Monza did deliver somewhat, even though it was a bit of a shame we didn't get some carnage and get a safety car. But maybe all that will come to us out at Silverstone this week. I've been Hamish Munro, your Split 2 commentator, out here for round 3 of season 17 for the VA veterans out at Autodromo Nazionale Monza. We'll see you next time, next Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. Australian Daylight Savings Time for round 4 out at Silverstone. Bye for now.